For BamaCentral.com, I'm Joey Blackwell with Katie Wyndham and Tony Sakalas, and this is the latest edition of Three and Out. Despite not winning a national championship last year, Nick Saban was able to take a roster that was a little lackluster considering the past several seasons and was still able to make it to the college football playoff. This has led a lot of people to think that, or at least ask the question, was 2021 Nick Saban's best coaching job since coming to Alabama? Obviously, that is a topic that's up for debate. Katie, what do you think about that question?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question to look at. I don't know if I necessarily call the roster lackluster. I mean, maybe by Alabama standards, but I think the rest of the country would still complain that it's stacked with 5 stars. But we did kind of see this past weekend with the NFL draft, only 7 players drafted. And I say only, once again, by Alabama standards, that's lower. But when you look around the country, it's not. But the lowest Alabama under Saban since 2016. And so when you kind of look at that, if you go back and look at his media availabilities throughout the season, what he said on Hey Coach week after week about this team lacking leadership and him really having to do some different stuff, especially after having a 2020 team that was so stacked with leadership, I think you definitely could make the argument that this past season was his best coaching job, taking this team to all the way to the national title. It is in a way, though, hard to say was his best coaching job if they don't win the national title. But I think to get that team with the leadership that it was lacking for most of the year, I think if you would have asked any realistic Alabama fan in November, will this team play for a national championship? They would have said no, but yet they still did. So was it his best? I'm not quite sure, but was it impressive? Yes. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, so I get this argument, and Alabama certainly overachieved last year. And there's a lot of other things that, didn't get mentioned. Like, for example, it was the first year with NIL, and it was, we're in the midst of a new era of transfers that are still, that was new. So like dealing with that, those distractions, obviously there was the Ashai Hall distractions, there was the Jaleel Billingsley distraction. So there was like hidden little things that made it a difficult coaching job. It's just so hard. The guy's won 6 titles at Alabama. It's hard to say that one of the seasons that he didn't win was his best. I think maybe I go 2020. That first championship season in 2009 was a big one, just because they hadn't done it in so long. But I do, on the same hand, I do see how it was tough. I mean, you had a rebuilt offensive line. You had to break in a new system. You had a new offensive coordinator. You had all the player distractions. It was definitely a tough coaching job. It was probably Nick Saban's least enjoyable season. If I don't know if he said that, but I'd venture to imagine that he had the least fun last season just because there are so many headaches. Joey, I guess, what do you think?
Well, if you listen to Hey Coach, I do agree with you from last year. It seemed like week in and week out, there were those leadership issues on the team. It seemed like there was effort issues, a lot of as Nick Saban would say himself, the poor me's, on the team that kind of that they struggle with. And another thing we have to also think about it, this team obviously lost the national championship game to Georgia, but we also have to consider that had Jamison Williams and John Mechie not gotten hurt, they might have won the national title. Now, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. Georgia was obviously a fantastic team with one of the best defenses we've seen in in a decade. But at the same time, if Nick Saban does win the national championship and doesn't have those key injuries, we might be having a conversation of, well, duh, of course this was his best coaching job. But that's all, speculation. It's all hypotheticals. We'll never really know that answer for sure. For BamaCentral.com, I'm Joey Blackwell with Katie Wyndham and Tony Sakalas. Thank you for watching 3 and Out.